Slasher or SlasHIM.
Welcome to SOS Psycho. This is Alfred Hitchcock's absolute classic, and it was made in 1960, so it's 50 years old this year, and of course in black and white. Hitchcock is known as the master of suspense, and this movie makes that mark. After its release, it created a big influence for those films that preceded it, especially in the slasher genre, and even made an impact on other mediums. For example, the iconic creepy music composed by Bernard Herrmann was sampled by Busta Rhymes for his song Give Me Some Mo in 1998.
Spoiler alert! Don't continue if you haven't watched the movie.
This film may start like your regular melodrama of the same decade, but it is far from it by the conclusion of this film. The opening scene begins in a hotel room of Marion Crane, who the audience begins to identify with, and she is joined with her lover Sam Loomis. What should be noted here is that she is wearing white, provocative lingerie. As the dialogue unwinds, we find out that she wants to be with Sam forever, due to her love for him, and so she provokes him to marry her. But the problem is, all his money's tied up with his previous lover. As the film proceeds, Marion changes into seductive black underwear. When she is tempted to run away with the money she has been asked to put in a bank for some rich jerk. The colour black here is signalling the idea to you, the audience, that the character cannot be trusted, as she's bound to do the bad thing and run away with the money. But it's only because she loves Sam, and it would help them out. Which, if any kids are listening, it doesn't make it okay. Stealing is not big, and it's not clever, no matter what the circumstances are, as Marion ends up getting punished in the end, losing her life. Psycho begins stating the location, day, date and time. Phoenix, Arizona, Friday, December the 11th, 2:43 p.m. Which in turn makes this story feel real, as though it could happen to anyone by coming across as a documentary of previous events, without it actually stating that it's based on a true story. This is overplayed to the max in New Age slashers, with most of the film stating with a voiceover what you're about to see is based on actual events. In general, slasher movies pay a great deal of homage to the drained psycho killer as found in Alfred Hitchcock's film Psycho, which is actually based on a book with the same title by Robert Bloch, published in 1959. Hitchcock managed to create a lot of controversy and publicity with this horrific masterpiece. This was mainly due to the themes of violence and creepy voyeurism. The publicity was achieved by casting a big star at the time, Janet Leigh, to play a key role in this film. The role was Marion Crane, and has become regarded as cinema's most famous victim, as she dies in an iconic film moment known globally as the infamous shower scene. Killing a star halfway through a movie had never made such an impact before, to this level at least, and the idea was that audiences have this presumption of immunity for them, namely that a big star would not be killed in a movie. But even this idea has been overused ever since, and we now anticipate the known star to die first. However, this original scene alone sent out unnerving signals to audiences worldwide that a psycho can take advantage of you when you're at your most vulnerable. This is something that you will pick up on with your own viewings, and understand why I wrote a rhyme about it. Even Leigh herself has often said she hadn't been able to take a shower ever since. Psycho's theme of disturbance was centred around the troubled Norman Bates, played by Anthony Perkins, who is obsessed with his mother in a way which is understood through a complication of Sigmund Freud's Oedipus complex. The viewers find out his mother was dead all along, as revealed at the climax of the film by the shot which exposes her poorly preserved body in the fruit cellar. The alarming twist is that Norman kept his mother's character alive by taking on her persona by cross-dressing and imitating what the spectator believes to be her voice. Even though consciously he didn't realise what he was doing, due to his split personality, with his mother's being the most dominant by the end of the story. The reason that Norman came to be so mentally damaged is explained by the psychologist Dr. Fred Richmond at the end of the film, once Bates is taken into custody by the police. To look at Norman's gender representation, it can be argued that his masculinity is overshadowed by his mother's femininity, and that is why the negative feelings towards women are portrayed with murder. As the mother side of his personality knew Norman was attracted to them, as shown with Marion's presence. However, perhaps it may be argued that Norman represents femininity, as he looks after his mother, cleans the hotel rooms, and makes Marion some sandwiches after her arrival, which is a set of domestic roles more typically associated with women at the time of Psycho's making and release, whereas his mother's persona can be disputed as showing his masculinity, as at the end of the movie it is Norman who we see looking at the camera with a sinister expression, whereas it is his mother's voice that we hear. This creates the idea that she has taken over his mind completely, and therefore making him more masculine than he ever was before. Unless this was a ploy all along for Norman to be classified as unstable by Dr. Fred Richmond during the closing moments of the movie. Another idea that the mother front is seen as more masculine than Norman's part is because she uses a kitchen knife to carry out her killings. The reasons that these crazed killers in the slasher use stabbing weapons, especially knives and machetes instead of guns, is to add a greater turmoil to the mise en scene and to create more blood spatter, as victims can survive more assaults from these objects. Although the previous reasons are considered, it is mainly due to them echoing masculinity, power and dominance through the representation of phallic symbolism, which is adapted from Freud's theories that films are like dreams and that you can interpret the meanings of dreams. Freud affirmed that, with very few exceptions, dreams were disguised hallucinatory fulfillments of repressed wishes. This refers to the idea that the lonely Norman is sexually frustrated, as he seemingly desires Marion but believes she would reject him. Therefore, the usage of the knife stabbing resembles his repressed wishes to have sexual relations with her through a phallic symbol, even though it is mother's actions that are controlling him. This is what I love about this movie. Tiny wee things that you pick up on are completely open to your own interpretation. So leave me your thoughts about this movie and what you think of this episode. Leave anything at all in the comments basement just below. So it is now time to give the SOS verdict, whether this film's a slasher or a SlasHIM. Now, I've tallied up all the deaths that happen in this movie, and I found out 4 females die and only 2 males die. This means that for every male that dies, there are 2 females that die. This is a slasher. I give this slasher 9 out of 10 and highly recommend you watch it. So bring on next John Carpenter's Halloween.
We all go a little mad sometimes, haven't you?